It's 12:45 a.m. as I write this, so I suppose I technically FU'd yesterday. I've been on Tinder for a few weeks. Not 100% what I'm looking for, just seeing what's out there. About a week ago, I matched with a girl called Meg. She seemed nice, we chatted for a bit, and arranged to go for a drink next week, because of how hectic her shift pattern is. Anyway, Meg messaged me tonight inviting me over, but said she had some friends round as well. I wasn't keen on going to what sounded like a party when I didn't know literally anyone there, so I made up an excuse about how I couldn't go, and said I'd see her next week like we'd planned. A few hours later, I got a notification that I matched with another girl, named Georgia. I tried my luck with a pretty direct first few messages, and it paid off because she invited me over straight away. I had a quick shower, called a taxi and set off over. On the way there I got a bit more detail. She said she was visiting a friend. When I got to her street, she said she'd meet me outside. She brought her friend with her, just in case I was a murderer or something. I'm sure you can guess who her friend was. She immediately recognized me. It was the single most awkward moment of my life. To their credit, they took it incredibly well, and invited me in for a beer, which I accepted. I had a pretty nice time for the hour and a half or so that I stuck around, drinking their beer. But I don't think either of them are gonna be in a rush to see me again. DL, Doctor, tried to sleep with 2 different girls on Tinder, turned out they were friends who were staying in the same flat. Edit, a lot of people are extremely mad that I didn't have a threesome lol. My 4-year-old son was relatively recently diagnosed with celiac disease, which means he should not eat gluten. We've adjusted pretty well and for the most part still eat gluten-filled food ourselves and managed to keep him on a GF diet. We took him to the beach 2 weeks ago and this is when I flew. So he'd been pretty good and I decided that we'd go to the beach cafe. Services via window with limited outdoor seating, so they've adapted pretty well to social distancing without too many changes, and get us some ice cream. Now to me, if you get ice cream, the ice cream is the main attraction, forget cones and nuts and sauces, so you can probably see where I'm going. I forgot all about the cone. So we're all tucking in and my wife casually asks, is that a gluten-free cone? Phew. You can imagine how well a 4-year-old takes having the gluten-contaminated ice cream taken away. Oh, and then I flew again. Not knowing what to do with this sticky half-eaten ice cream and having 2 kids to look after I eat it. Howling intensifies. I look up and realize what this looks like. Dad steals ice cream from distraught son and eats it right in front of him. There were tuts and mutters, ladies and gentlemen, tuts and mutters. I'm British, so that's about as strong a condemnation as you can get. Since then we've taken him to a couple of beaches and he's got ice cream in a tub. He keeps asking if it's got gluten in it and saying that Daddy will take it from me. He just looks heartbroken whenever he says this. DL, Doctor, gave my son an ice cream that he can't eat because of gluten and then ate the remains in front of his face to the condemnation of a beach of people. My very first job I got was a cart pusher at Walmart. I was 16 years old. I wanted to be a cashier so that I wasn't outside so much. After maybe 5 months working there I noticed that they are hiring for cashier position. I went to HR/staffing and asked them if I could be enrolled in the training. They told me no, and said something along the lines of, "We are happy with having you where you are at." I was a bit of a chaotic little shoot at that age and the gears started turning. Me, but you are hiring new people to be cashiers, right? HR, yes. Me, so, if I was not employed here and I applied then I would be considered for the cashier position, is that right? HR, well, yes that is true. Me, okay, then let's do that. I would like to be a cashier so I would like to resign. HR, clearly baffled, you would need to provide a letter in writing that you were going to resign. I wrote a letter of resignation on a post-it and handed it to HR. This was all at the beginning of my shift, mind you. Near the end of my shift I was asked to speak with HR. They were informing me that I had been enrolled in the cashier education classes. A week later I was working indoors and had a 1 per hour raise. On mobile, all that jazz. Also this is what I witnessed my wife do and only had a small role in. My wife had her water break at home with our first kid. So we made the drive to the hospital, made pretty decent time if I do say so myself. Normally it takes about 30 to 35 minutes but we did it in exactly 20, door to door. As she got out of my truck, there was a sploosh as more water gushed out. It soaked her pants and socks and shoes. It was pretty funny to see her standing there, soaked and having steam come off her pants and shoes. It was steaming because it was early March so still below freezing. We go through the admitting process that I guess you can cut the line in when you're in active labor. We were told this after waiting for 4 others, but I digress. As we get up to labor and delivery, the nurse tells my wife she has to sit in the other chair, not the wheelchair I pushed her up in. My wife tries to say she should stay where she is but gets cut off. So she tries again and gets cut off yet again. So I figured maybe the nurse would listen to me and I try to tell her that really my wife should stay in this chair because of all the splooshes so far. The nurse is getting shorter and grumpier, not letting us speak up about the upcoming monsoon of baby juice this lady will have to be mopping up soon. My wife and I look at each other and mentally say that if that's what the nurse wants, that's what she's gonna get. My wife shrugs and says okay, I'll sit in that chair. The nurse was trying to look busy with the papers so she won't have to help my wife stand up and move chairs. As I help my wife stand up and get ready to clear out of the splash zone, exactly what we knew was going to happen happened. The nurse, now with wet shoes, looks at us a bit angrily at first, then lets out a resigned sigh and says I should have asked if your water had broken. We said yep, that's what we were trying to say. Then my wife and I squished and sloshed our way to the delivery room. A mere 4 hours and 23 minutes later we met our beautiful son. I was told that I need to share this story as well. First off, I have been out of the hotel industry for 20 plus years, so it is an oldie, but a goodie. Let's go back to 1993, a sophomore in college and taking summer classes so I could get some of my major requirements out of the way. I had a part-time job working for a big hotel in my hometown, just 2 towns over from where I went to college. I have a ton of stories from the 5 years I worked there. This is one of my favorites. We used to have a guest at the hotel who rented a room every Tuesday evening. It was obvious he was with someone other than his wife, but most of those being indiscreet didn't act like horny teenagers in the front lobby, full makeout sesh, or attempts to have sex in the pool. He was warned a few times and never crossed the line to getting kicked out, but towed right up to the line often. You get to know your regulars, including their significant others, wives, girlfriends, sometimes both, and know what you are in for. Par for the course working in a hotel. The regulars are usually pretty friendly and you chit-chat a bit. Mr. Smith, as he signed his folio, always paid in cash, and since people knew him, we didn't ask for ID. As I shared earlier, I was going to college to get some classes out of the way, and this summer I signed up for ethics in education. There were only about 20 of us in the class, and so it was impossible for him not to know me and me not to know him. He walked into the classroom, saw me sitting in his class and said excuse me a minute, and walked out into the hall to have a moment to freak out. He came back in red-faced and stuttering, and refused to make eye contact with me the entire time while he spent 3 hours discussing ethics in the educational system. The following Tuesday I checked in Mr. Smith. Why he decided to keep coming after he figured out I worked there I will never know, and offered to give me an A as long as I didn't breathe a word to anyone at the school. I told him I'll get my A on my own merits. He noticed my textbook open on the desk, and that unless he interferes with my grade or my job, I will not say a word, because ethics. In that summer semester, I got an A in the class, and Mr. Smith continued on with his affair until another student busted him out with his other girlfriend at another hotel in the area. His wife divorced him when the news got out and he retired soon after. All I can say is that I did not compromise my ethics. I got the A and he got a dose of karma. My older brother is an idiot. I refer to him as my idiot brother. Sadly, he is my only brother. Many years ago, when he was a senior in high school, we had a dog. Idiot bro decided if it was good enough for his dog, it was good enough for him. He was the one responsible for cleaning the dog's dishes, which he didn't do. I know because I ended up doing it to keep the dog healthy. One day Idiot Bro calls me into his room because he wants to ask a private question. I was worried the moment he said it was private. He wanted to know what to do if you saw something moving on the toilet paper after you went to the bathroom. I told him to go to a doctor because that was bad. So he made an appointment and saw his doctor. Apparently he was drinking out of the dog's water dish if he was in the backyard, and he got worms from the dog. There is a type of worm in our area that is almost impossible to kill in the soil, so dogs get wormed regularly here. Our dog got wormed often, but apparently not often enough. By the time Idiot Bro got home, he was in bad shape and couldn't go get his medication. So he gave me some cash for it. Then I had to go to the local veterinary school to get the medication. Human pharmacies didn't carry this med because it was specific to this one type of worm. The lady at the vet school was dumbfounded when she figured out I needed it for my brother, not for a dog. Imagine the laughter when I had to go back 2 more times, each a few months apart, because he kept getting the same worms again. The dog did get wormed each time, but as the worms live in the dirt around here, she kept getting infected. If only this was the dumbest thing he ever did. Out of the weird and annoying things that happened last night, like my system going down, breakfast person calling out, and the help website never responding to me about said system being down. What I just did tops it all. So our air fresheners have a orange spray thingy, and our cleaning stuff has a blue spray thingy. Right now I was disinfecting my lobby and desk area and decided that I was going to put some smell good stuff in the air when I was done. This is where I make a huge mistake. I go into my laundry room and grab the spray bottle with the orange and start walking and spraying, thinking I'm doing a good deed. Not too long after I spray the furniture in the lobby, I realize I am not smelling our clean laundry scented spray. What I was smelling was just gross. I look down and see in very faded letters vinegar. Long story short, I try to redeem myself with actual air freshener, and now my lobby has a strong vinegary, cleanish smell. Hoping it's not as bad as I think it is. Frown. A couple came into my section of the store and purchased this very large black stone griddle. It was so large I had to load it onto one of those hand-crank cart things and walk with them to the front to purchase it. We tried to load it into their vehicle, but it wasn't able to fit, so we kept the product for them while they went to go get their truck. After about an hour we were called to the front of the store to help the couple get the griddle into their truck. I arrived there before my co-worker and I start moving it on my own when this woman approached me. "What are you doing with my griddle?" I didn't hear her at first, so I asked her to repeat herself, and she did while going on to add, "I just purchased this, it's mine." I was confused more than anything and just stood there as she repeated it to me again for the third time before I finally uttered, "Ma'am, I watched the guy who purchased this, and you're not that guy." She sputtered out, "That's mine." Now I'd be more inclined to believe her if it wasn't for the fact that this griddle was the only one in the whole store and you need a worker with you at all times while operating one of those hand crank cart things. The women walked in front of me and started trying to block me from leaving with it, but, eventually, my co-worker came up and he completely ignored the women, even as she tried to waddle her way after us, trying to grab onto my co-worker to stop him. This happened all the way until we got a third of the way to the exit, until she just gave up and stared at me defeated, or was it threateningly, as I walked backwards, rolling the griddle away to load it onto the truck of the people who just bought it and also had the receipt. I thought my coworker was just used to this stuff by now and was ignoring her on purpose, but he said he really didn't notice her presence at all, or so he says, even when she was trying to block me from leaving. It was interesting to say the least, and my coworkers and I had a good laugh about the strangeness of it all and wondering how she thought she was gonna get away with that one. Today I had a delivery to this guy that wanted his change when the total was 17.54 and he handed me 20.54. He did this twice to me in the span of 3 days and I walked away without saying anything to him. He then proceeded to start yelling and saying I had a bad attitude and was saying, "Why are you mad? I asked for my change? Like, do you expect me to say thank you after you didn't give me a tip, and did you expect someone with a good attitude when you didn't give a tip?" He said I had the bad attitude and I was all mad when he was yelling expletives at me while I walked away and said nothing. I will never understand his logic, but I thought it was a good story to share. Long story short, visited Mexico for a holiday, the company that crosses the T's and dots the I's, and I ended up having a baby on the day I was due to fly home, stuck there for 15 days afterwards whilst we got paperwork / passport / flights / all kinds of other things sorted with the help of a lot of very helpful reps. The area manager for the holiday company was eventually trying to help us with repatriation, as our insurance wouldn't pay out until we were home and all the commercial flights were super expensive. We'd already drained savings with the hospital, hotel bills and unexpected baby expenses. My mum, only one of our party, was permitted to stay with me by insurance rules. Obviously my mum wanted to give us a little treat after the 2 weeks of waiting around government buildings, consulates and hospitals and fly business class back home. AM said it couldn't be done via the repatriation scheme, but may be allowed at the check-in desk. Time to leave finally comes. All of the reps we had dealt with and lots of the hotel staff came to see us off, left us with presents. As we did them, we get met and taken from the airport coach directly to the check-in desk by another rep. Premium sold out. Then I get called to the gate desk before boarding. The AM had already arranged for us to fly business class. It was amazing. On board, the hostesses were making such a fuss over us. The pilot did a shout out to his youngest ever passenger, and at the end the ladies held us back and presented us with a certificate and teddy for my daughter and asked if they could take pictures with her too. I cried, a lot, and wrote lots of letters of thanks to head offices. I'm not sure if naming companies is acceptable, it's usually not. But the three-letter German travel company, biggest in the UK, and the three-letter Spanish hotel brand that is 49% owned by aforementioned travel group, would wholly recommend them, and also do actually meet your holiday reps. They aren't just there to sell you things, much to my shock having only been on girls' holidays previously. As you might expect, our role is intended mainly to protect nature. Conservation type stuff. However, we're trained to be a jack of all trades as we often are the best service available to rural communities. Our training is wide-ranging, we get ourselves into all sorts of chaos. The thing about enforcing controversial laws in the austere setting is we absolutely have to have community support. A big element of our job is winning hearts and minds in a way. Our biggest tool for that is bringing knowledge, muscles, and skill into rural areas to help with local problems. We're caravanning through the bush and over CB radio we hear calls for help. Flashing engine light on a 4x4. Just as a PSA for anyone who isn't in the know, a flashing engine light indicates a potentially very expensive emergency, and the correct response is to stop ASAP and call for a tow. We plug in our OBD reader which throws a code for P0301. That means something is wrong in the first cylinder, okay. Luckily this driver got away with a minor issue. Took about an hour, but we were able to diagnose the problem as a spark plug dirty with carbon. The in the Royals solution is cleaning the plug, which we did, and an Italian tune-up. We tow it out to a long flat stretch, have them do their Italian tune-up. Reset the code, everything's all good, it doesn't pop back. The drivers have been predictably nervous from the beginning, but something didn't sit well with us regarding how nervous they continued to be. They didn't give us consent to search, but we established legal authorization to search based on large amounts of cash visible and admission to carrying a hunting rifle in the car. The gun had no serial number, which isn't illegal for a permitted gun owner but raises suspicion. Biggest thing though was probably 40 20-liter fuel cans in the back that weren't carrying fuel. Each can was loaded with a suspicious black sludge that was garlicky/citrusy smelling. As it turns out, this was LSA in production, a psychedelic that's also a precursor to LSD. It turned out they harvested morning glory seeds from a secret farm in the bush, crushed the seeds into a powder, was transporting them in an orange juice, garlic solution. This solution is a method to extract the LSA from the crushed seeds, and then go to a secret lab where the LSA is extracted from the solution. We took it all, driver got a ticket for conspiracy to produce a controlled substance, and they were let off with a bit less weight. When I worked as a patrolman for a gated community we always had diverse and unique situations to keep in mind. One such situation was that within the community there was a home that was owned by an individual who was on the FBI's most wanted. Not top 10 but still, a big deal. One day my gate officer called me up to speak with him. Quickly, he said code 2 for those who know. It seems someone at the above-mentioned house had just called the gate to authorize entry for a pizza delivery. I was also the site supervisor at the time and had spoken to U.S. Marshals in the past about this address. All officers were briefed about 3 months prior and I applaud my gate officer for catching this. I call the marshal, he actually answers and instructs me to stand by, we will have people there shortly. They also called the pizza place to inform them. I don't know if the guy called the pizza place about a delay or how it was handled if he did but. About an hour later county SWAT shows behind and followed by probably 15 squads and unmarked vehicles. After staging for about 10 minutes I got to lead, because the community's roads can get confusing, this massive caravan to the location. We kill our lights before getting too close and by the time I walked up to the place SWAT and taken down the door and led the man out a few moments later. This guy had been wanted for serious and violent crimes, won't get specific, don't want to expose where this was for over 6 years. He was passing through and had hopped the fence to stay at his place there one night before moving on again. He had not given ordering a pizza any thought beyond intending to pay cash. Good example of why security should never be dismissed or underestimated. Most of us take the job seriously and work hard to perform to a high standard. TLDR, idiot on FBI's wanted list returns home in a gated community for a night and orders a pizza. Calls security to instruct we allow pizza in. Supervisor knows all and calls marshals. SWAT handles it. I'm a courtroom assistant in a Southeast Asian country, I'd rather not get much further than that on identifying information. We do both security and practical assistance like moving displays, escorting juries, and some ceremonial stuff as well. This was the sentencing of an evil flip on several high crime offenses, similar to what a capital offense may be in America. Here high crime is the level above criminal offense, or felony for the rest of the world. He stalked, kidnapped, raped, and murdered a locally famous and growing pop artist who was pregnant. He was charged with stalking, high-crime kidnapping, high-crime rape, high-crime murder, high-crime fetal homicide, and a bunch of other stuff. Evil Flip, as he will be referred to from here on out, was on suicide precautions as he made threats against his own life in prison, so he was in spiffy paper clothes. We were well into victim impact statements. The victim had a large family and there were something like 35 individuals addressing the court. We're something like 28 statements into it. Next up was Granddad. These are always really emotional, families are always really upset for good reason, but this 80-plus old guy is the worst I can remember. He was crying, breathing heavily, shaking, the entire sentencing. He was called to make his statement, starts walking up, about past the counsel table. He then turns, tackles the attorneys and Evil Flip. He didn't get much in on the Evil Flip, maybe a kick and 2 punches before 15 of us pile up on him. He was taken into custody, and it quickly became apparent that Evil Flip got what was coming. Evil Flip is screaming and gagging for about 20 seconds, then he starts convulsing, came back in about 2 minutes choking/gagging, really bad. We put him on his side and get an ambulance on the way. The rest of the gallery was evacuated and court went into recess. By time the ambulance arrives he's not breathing, only twitching and has no pulse. They do CPR, take him out to the hospital. He was revived and died later that day. Coroner's report said his brainstem was damaged, his skull was broken, and brain herniated through break in his skull. The Granddad was interviewed by national police who have jurisdiction of courts. He said that he'd been planning that for days, he felt no remorse, said if he had time he would have killed the attorneys too. It also came out that the Granddad was in my country's mob back in the day, had 40 years in prison prior for drowning someone in petrol and lighting their corpse on fire. He was suspected but not confirmed to be involved in several other high-profile murders. He was charged with murder, conspiracy, contempt of court, and 2x simple battery for the attorneys. He was found not guilty of everything except contempt of court, to which he was originally sentenced to 4 years but it was reduced to terminal probation with home confinement due to his health. Obligatory. I'm on mobile, sorry if this doesn't fit. Also English is my first language but I'm lazy. This story is that of a friend of my dad's. He was in Switzerland and rented a car for a week. Upon receiving the car he noticed a small crack at the bottom of the windshield but thought nothing of it as it wasn't that big. Once the week was up he returned the car, and the car rental agency inspected the car and decided he owed the equivalent of €100 to repair the crack in the windshield. Anyway, he tried to argue that the crack had been there previous to him renting the car, and he assumed that this was a common tactic employed by the agency, whereby they rented a car with a small crack in the windshield and charged the renter for said damage to the windshield. He wasn't having any luck arguing his case. This was prior to smartphones and cameras being available, so he didn't take any photos, so he jumped on the bonnet and smashed the windshield in. The agency reps said they would charge him for damages to the car, to which he replied, "I'm already going to pay for a new windshield, I might as well make sure it's broken." My roommate, 55 meters, has been helping himself to my food and drinks lately. First, he ate 2 dinners worth of pasta I made for myself. I came home late and found a sorry note in the empty Tupperware and a 20 bill. I shrugged it off and got over the mild inconvenience of having to go out for dinner since he gave me cash. Next, he ate 3 lunches worth of sandwiches for dinner alongside 4 craft beers. Still has not paid me back. The other night he ate half a very large bag of frozen buffalo wings. The irony is that when I moved in, he was sure to let me know how much it irritates him when other people eat his food. Each time he has done this he's claimed that he thought it was his /son's. However, he divided the fridge in half with my stuff on the left so nobody would be eating anyone else's food. I'm fine if this happens once in a while by total accident, as long as he gives me money, but it has been a pattern ever since I moved in 3 weeks ago. It's beyond frustrating when you shop for ingredients at the store and prepare it into a meal only to have it accidentally eaten by someone else. Keep it up, buddy, and you'll be looking for a new roommate in no time. This is more and I don't work here anymore, but whatever. I got out of the army in 2013, and the full contract period ended in June 2015, when you enlisted as always for 8 years. I moved on to other careers, but kept the same cell phone number. One day in March 2016 I get a phone call from Georgia. I usually don't answer random numbers, but I did this time. First thing they say is, "Where the fuck are you?" I was kind of surprised, but I said, "I'm in North Dakota, where are you?" Angry person, don't get smart with me. I'm where you are supposed to be right now. Why are you on vacation? Who authorized that? I'm looking around at the western ND landscape wondering who on earth goes there on vacation. I contemplated messing with a guy for a bit, but decided against it. Look, who are you trying to get in touch with? I think you have a wrong number. There was a pause. Is this Sergeant, last name? Me, well, that was me, but. Angry person, no buts. You need to get here right away. You are definitely going to face disciplinary action and. Me, look dude, for one I don't know where here is, also I'm not a sergeant anymore because I'm not in the army anymore. Another pause. Here is Fort Benning, Georgia, you should have that on your orders, we are flying out soon, and I have you on my manifest. Me, I don't give darn about your manifest, my contract fully terminated last year. Someone F it up, I'm not going with you. I didn't get any orders. You can fix your own stupid mess. I hung up after that. A week later he called again to apologize. I told him it was all cool, but may he should try a different approach next time. So my lovely friend sent my boyfriend and I some heavy-duty cloth masks. They're a thick cotton material, like almost a robust linen, and they're also lined with a thinner bedsheet type cotton on the inside to form a filter pocket. These are thick bois. With snug ear loops and nose metal pieces, once they're on, there's very little air coming in except through the mask. Now, they came with some filters as well, which are pleated, so the filter material is folded over itself and twice as thick. As soon as we got them we shoved in the filters and wore them everywhere, shopping, out walking where people are, and entire socially distant hangouts. That includes hours of socially distant video games straight. They were never difficult to breathe in, but just cumbersome and annoying. But hey, what's a little annoyance when it comes to saving lives? Well, after a few weeks of this, I decided to replace the filter, and quickly realized that there were 2 filters in each one. So, this whole time we've been breathing through essentially 6 pieces of material, each. We laughed and told my friend, and tried our masks with a singular filter, as intended, and let me tell you, it's like a breath of fresh air. TLDR, accidentally wore insanely thick masks with both the original filter and the spare at the same time for weeks. Oh, and I have asthma and didn't die. Anti-maskers can suck it. First time poster, so I'm sorry if I make any mistakes, but I just had to share this bizarre incident to my fellow servers here. Okay, so it's a relatively slow Sunday night and I've only had a couple small tables and barely made any money. Around 8:30 p.m. walks in a nice looking couple. The man is wearing a doctor's coat and the wife has a nice brand name purse and both honestly look pretty loaded. I seat them and ask if they'd like to start with any drinks or apps, and immediately the wife orders 3 appetizers and margaritas to start. She is very outgoing and does all the talking. Meanwhile the husband is quiet and working, writing notes and stuff most of the time, so I kind of leave him alone. They explain that he's on call at the hospital so they're gonna be quick. I'm like alrighty. They order 2 expensive entrees, and proceed to tell me they want desserts to go and coffees. I say okay, I bring their entrees and a couple of minutes later do my standard check to see if the food is to their liking. They tell me they have to go as the hospital has called her husband. The man hands me his card and I tell him I'll be right back with it and his to-go desserts right away. As I go run the card it authorized 26 cents. I'm confused at this point and turn to see them and they were gone. I tried to run after them but they were in the process of peeling out of the parking lot in a beat-up POS car. 98 bill and they ran out. I cried. I spent so much energy and time running back and forth for them. Sigh. Sorry it's so long, I'm just really upset about the situation. Edit. The man also left behind one of his work notes and on it was written menthol 305 cigs. This was years ago in high school, back in my chemistry class. I also had an 18-year-old senile mini poodle who would pee wherever he wanted to. We were working on these notebooks all year and would turn them in for a massive chunk of our grades. I had done maybe half of them, because I wasn't a good student back in the day. So it comes around to the end and I'm frantically trying to fill stuff in with half of it being fake things I can't remember. It was late and I had my books on the floor near my desk. I went to sleep because I was so exhausted. Next morning I wake up and my dog has not only peed on my notebook, he got my math book and science book too. I went to school and told my teacher what happened. She didn't believe me, and looking back quite right of her, but she did say I was the first to use this particular excuse. She said if I didn't bring in the notebook I would fail the class. I asked if she was sure, she said do it. So I went home and put the notebook in a gallon Ziploc bag and brought it to school. When the time came around to turn it in I put it on her desk. She stopped mid-sentence and stared at the book, Her brain caught on the fact that the dog had actually peed on my notebook. Then she told me to throw it away and said she would be fair and give me a B grade for my notebook. I passed the class, thanks to my poodle peeing on my notebook. I'm a screenwriter currently working on a project that opens in the kitchen of a Michelin star restaurant. I'm looking for a current and authentic culinary debate taking place in the world of fine dining to help drive my first 10 pages. I've tried to read up and research this question on my own, but the particulars of what I need are so specific that I'm having trouble. The scene involves 3 core characters: the celebrity chef who owns the restaurant, along with many others, the day-to-day executive chef and his sous chef. The celebrity chef is coming in at the end of the dinner rush to sample new additions to the menu, presented by the sous chef and executive chef, but 2 problems arise. 1. As the scene opens, the sous chef is making her way through the kitchen looking for one of the prep cooks. There's an ingredient that was supposed to be prepped, but she can't find it. It turns out the ingredient has been mis-stored and ruined or perhaps accidentally used in preparing another dish. As the dinner rush starts, the team must scramble to fix the problem. 2. Just as all this cools down, the celebrity chef arrives. The sous chef has her heart set on pitching one element of the new menu. It could be a specific item, or switching to a different ingredient or sourcing, or another method of cooking, but something significant and cutting edge. Whatever it is, the celebrity chef winds up accepting the new menu overall, but rudely dismisses the idea of the young sous chef, deeming it beneath the restaurant of his caliber. Ideally, the lost prep work and the sous chef's pitch would relate to one another, but they don't have to be. It could be a separate dish that gets messed up, but I'd prefer it be somehow connected. I know this is an unusual question. I'd greatly appreciate any ideas, hints or sharpened utensils pointing my research in the right direction. Scrolling through the Charlie Project and stumbled across Jeremy Todd Wilson. His case isn't a rabbit hole with twists and turns, well, not one that's published anyway. I can't find much, any, information online apart from a Facebook page, which I cannot post a link to, sorry, but can be found easily on Google. And also the Charlie case link too. My information is what I've read on the Charlie Project website, which I'll post below. Details of disappearance: Wilson was last seen on County Road 458 in Clanton, Alabama at 3 p.m. on February 7, 2016. He and his wife were driving together when they got into an argument less than a mile from their home, and Wilson got out of the vehicle and walked away. He has never been heard from again. Wilson's wife doesn't believe he would have abandoned his family, which includes 2 sons. Few details are available in his case. Investigating agency: Chilton County Sheriff's Department 205-755-2511. It doesn't look as if there has been any leads, or any more information around this case, and it gave me the chills, I guess. Like, less than a mile from home and just vanished? I don't have any theories on this, more just wanting to share awareness and get Jeremy's name out there. I don't know him, in fact I'm from a totally different country here in else, but whatever happened, people are still thinking and looking for you, Jeremy. So a bit of backstory. I hate going into my local Wally World. It's always very crowded, messy, and I get most of the stuff I need from other shops. The one instance where I needed to get bed sheets, I had just bought and built a bed, I had to go into Wally World. Needless to say, I was in the bedding aisle and I'm just prodding through stuff trying to find one I like. This lady, who I think is an evolved Karen, came down the aisle. I say evolved because she had really long brown hair, was wearing a black shirt with jeans, and was wearing Adidas. I don't remember all of this convo, but it went something like this. K/tilde hey. You over there. Me/tilde, still browsing through bedsheets and not paying attention /K/tilde you. She stomps over to me and stands directly behind me /. I hear the obnoxious sound of this Karen clearing her through behind me, and I finally realize she was talking to me. Me/tilde yes. Were you talking to me? K/tilde why aren't you doing your job? Me/tilde what? K/tilde don't play dumb with me. You're not doing your job. Me/tilde, confused / what do you mean? K/tilde I could get you fired for this. I know the owner of the store, so you're going to help me if you know what's good for you. Me/tilde, realizing what's going on /ma'am actually I. K/tilde, interrupts me / help me find the conditioner. Me/tilde look in the hair aisle. I start walking away from this lady /. This Karen starts following me screaming about how I'm going to get fired for this. An actual employee comes running up asking what's going on BC she heard screaming. This Karen starts fuming about how I'm not doing my job and some other BS. This employee looks at me and tells the Karen that I don't work here. She starts screaming. K_BS. Rain of Valhalla works here. Get me your? Nice employee, _fine. You caught the act. Rain of Valhalla does work here. Looks me dead in the eyes. You're fired. K_C, I told you. Looks back at me and then looks Karen directly in the eyes. Karen, get out of my store. Karen starts whining. Hi. I could get you fired for this. You were harassing one of my employees and now since she is fired you are now harassing a customer and I the manager. This is all recorded, leave or I will call the cops. Looks wide-eyed well I never. She spins on her heels to the other direction and presumably walks out of the store. I thanked got my bedsheets at half price for my trouble, and walked out of Wally World. I ate ramen that night. Sorry it was so long. Skeptical. I had to rant. I work at a beach resort in Southwest Florida. I would say 90% of our current business are people staying from the other coast of Florida, aka the COVID epicenter in the world. The majority of them come to escape all the strict restrictions they have in Miami. The conversations I've had with them is just really discouraging. They don't believe the virus is real and that masks are a joke. The worst part is the city I work in doesn't mandate anything in my area yet and we are following them in terms of when we will mandate masks. No wonder Miami has a 35% positive rate. WTF is wrong with people, they come here and are more than happy to potentially spread it to others as long as they get to use the beach and get drunk. So when I worked for Target I was over guest service, and this included the registers and self-checkout. We had a lot of issues with coupon scammers. Now normally I wouldn't care, but it had gotten so crazy that we were losing tons of money due to it. The manufacturer will only pay out if it is valid in most cases, and only for the amount shown, and we're needing to crack down in order to avoid more issues. One example is a lady applying a 5 off a new Swiffer, /20, but the machine would sometimes not catch it if they applied it to a 4 item, so they get one free for whatever. People do this kind of thing a lot, and will just go resell the items or return them to a different store for profit. The POS systems are smart but prone to mistakes. For this reason, the scammers love self-checkout. And #X200B. I was covering the break for the employee working self-checkout and I noticed a lady doing a lot of weird things, inserting tons of coupons. Soon she called me over because one wasn't working. I could clearly see a lot of high-value coupons and not a lot of high-value items. She said not all her coupons were working correctly and if I could just manually enter the discount because we have to accept her coupons, that it was the rules because these coupons were correct. I said I would need to get the coupons out from the tray to confirm them, and then I could. I used my manager keys to open the machine and took out the coupons inside. Luckily it was at the beginning of the day and hers were the only coupons. As I looked through the coupons and looked at her stuff, not bagged yet, I confirmed what I knew to be true, lots of fraud. On principle, I acknowledge the cleverness of it all, but people's jobs were at risk from the loss and I don't like to personally be scammed. I told her I would correct all the coupons, so I quickly went in and took out the ones that didn't apply, and left the valid ones. I handed her a stack of /15 coupons and let her know they did not apply. I told her that I appreciated her calling me over to verify the coupons for her and that I would make sure to let the other stores in the area know of the error so that we can correctly apply our rules that say we take coupons. In the end, her total went up about 50 and she left without getting anything. Thank God she insisted on following the rules, she would have gotten away with free things. I'm an ex-teacher. I haven't taught in a school for over 7 years now but was reminded of this story while browsing a different subreddit. I had a student whose mother came into school to complain to the head about me because I kept setting homework and coursework that had to be done on computer. They asked me to set less computer work and more homework and schoolwork which could be completed with pen and paper. I was an IT and computing teacher. The head was going to dismiss the complaint but offered to ask if and how I could help carry this out. I offered to let the student in the class carry out more of the storyboarding and planning phases of our work as homework. I'm not a fan of this because I like to be there for them when they are doing the planning, so they get the foundations right. A week later the head got a complaint from the same parent. They are in school to learn not to draw comic book pictures. The kid had drawn out the storyboard and designed the menus of the programming topic we were doing. At my job, there are a few parking spaces with shade from trees during lunch, all at the back of the lot. Usually, they are all full, with the few spaces around them that are not shaded, empty. Some lady, who has a cigarette lit her entire lunch break, has been moving her car from close to the door to right beside me. I usually open the windows instead of idling the engine at lunch, but with her smoke I can't do that, so I have no choice but to close the windows and run the AC. For the last couple weeks, I drove my old diesel truck, which is loud and stinky because it's an 80s diesel. Even if she showed up 2 minutes before I had to go back to work, I'd start the engine. The first couple days she moved within a few minutes of me starting the engine, then she stopped parking next to me at all. I drove my quieter and much less stinky van today and she still didn't park next to me. If she starts parking next to me and smoking again, I'll have to drive the old Dodge some more. Short but frustrating. I live in Hawaii. Tourism is at its lowest right now. That's okay. I'd rather be safe than make right now. Anyways, this couple come waltzing up to the host stand with luggage and duty-free bags. Are you serious? I ask, are you tourists? They flat out said yes. Not even a sneaky "we just flew from Oahu" line. I live on Big Island. Almost everyone has to stop in Oahu. There are extensive forms you must sign when flying to Hawaii stating that you must quarantine. Hawaii's pretty strict. My response: I'm sorry, but I must refuse service, and I have rang the police. Today I was contemplating my string of questionable housemates and wondering if maybe it was me that was the problem, but as I looked back I remembered there were some WTF moments that I couldn't quite put into words. Housemate Steve. Steve would use the dishwasher for 1x plate, a knife/fork and a cup. That's it. A full 25 to 30 minute full power wash with expensive washing tablets to clean the mighty stubborn stains that beans and toast are well known for. How does one even bring this up in a conversation? It's like a tumble dryer for a pair of socks. So, I'm doing my walkthrough at the start of my shift. I'm in the pool room making sure things are right. There's a few people in the water, and a couple sitting on the sidelines. They still have a few minutes, so I have not said anything yet. As I'm walking through, sideline dude stops me and tells me there is broken glass on the floor. Our room is lit for ambience and there is no way for me to make it brighter. During the day this is not really an issue, at night it's rather dark. Anywho. I'm immediately silently, well shoot. Outwardly, oh. Okay, I need everyone to head on out. I have to shut this down. I'm met with some no's and such. I apologized and was like, I mean, if there is broken glass in here I have to shut it down until it can be dealt with. The upside is that it's time to close the pool anyway. After a moment one of the pool folks gives up and asks what time it opens in the morning. I state the technical time but tell her it will be down until tomorrow afternoon at the minimum, as there are things that will have to take place due to the presence of glass and a giant pool. She's not harping, but I'm sure she'll have a complaint by the end of her stay. I did my part. The room is no longer safe, so I shut it down. What happens after I leave and there are people who can assess it isn't on me. The pool is in desperate need of care anyway, so we'll see. I work at a small-town coffee shop that has managed to adapt and stay busy during COVID-19 by utilizing a window for walk-up service. A regular problematic customer, let's call him TJ, is a typical middle-aged man riddled with toxic masculinity. He often makes female employees and customers uncomfortable with his comments. Lately he's been around a lot, being typical TJ. Today he came to our window and ordered a coffee. Cool, nothing out of the ordinary. A co-worker asked him if he would like to tip via our Square register. We normally don't verbally ask customers, but with the current pandemic we are not allowing customers to touch our iPad system. He proceeded to tell her to put 100, and reassured them he wanted to tip that much because he appreciates our hard work and effort and wants to chip in since our business has been a bit slower. Okay, I gave him that and almost have a change of heart about TJ. We both outwardly thank him and he goes on his way. I text my boss about this uncharacteristic interaction with TJ, and through their end of the register system she was able to look at the transaction. They noticed that not only was the credit card he used not in his name, but in his boss's name, on their company card. Typical TJ. What a D-bag. First time posting, currently a EMS dispatcher for a private ambulance company for 3 years now. We take some calls, however, they're usually seizures, psych, and falls. This one? Probably should have been psych, but unfortunately she wasn't the patient. This call happened in my first year, while I was pretty fresh and didn't understand the power of controlling a call. And #X200B. Me, okay, tell me exactly what happened. CLR, yeah, my mom fell in the other room, you know we have her locked in there right now, but yeah she fell and I think she may have hit her head. Me, okay, are you with her now? CLR, well, you see, she has dementia, and we live in a new home, so she is locked in there. You see, we can't have her wandering because of the bears that are around here. Me, have you gone to check on her yet? CLR, no, I can't unlock her door because she will get out and the bears will get her. Me, can you please go check on the patient? CLR, yeah, I think she might have hit her head, it sounded like she hit the end table, that's what woke me up, but even our big dog, insert large dog brand, is afraid to go outside because there are bears here at this new house. Please send the ambulance but make sure they get in and out quick because the bears will get them. Rinse and repeat for literally every one of the 10 questions involved with a fall. I was essentially working with a third-party caller as she flat out refused to unlock her mother from the room until the imps got there, let alone even go look at her. And #X200B. I kid you not, I heard way more about these bears than I ever got out of her regarding her fallen mother. While I may have wanted to bash my head into the desk repeatedly asking her the questions, now I can have a good belly laugh over it. From what I do remember though, Mom was transported alright, and no EMTs were mauled by the darn bears. So I've always been a bit clueless about everything. I had no idea how to wear a mask. I put a post on my private Instagram story saying wouldn't it be great if these masks actually fit? With a photo of me wearing the mask what I thought was correctly. Nope. I had it on upside down. About 13 messages calling me variants of dumb. FYI, you have to have the wire part at the top, and pinch the wire to fit your nose. But then I got a message from a friend, saying that she didn't appreciate me mocking such a serious topic. I was so confused. Today was my first day wearing a mask out. I'm in the UK, they're becoming compulsory in shops on Friday. And I apologized profusely. She accepted it and we had a good laugh. Put another post on my story clarifying the situation, now I'm not a dumb anti-masker, just dumb. TLDR, wore a mask incorrectly, put it on social media, made a friend think I was mocking masks. So today a woman came in and asked for a refill of her medication. I see that she has a prescription that is over a year old and a new one that just came in. So I explained that the doctor didn't write the exact same thing and actually wrote for more pills and if she would want me to change it down to the same amount she got last time since it was coming up at over 200. She immediately claims I made a mistake and that the 120 pills should only be 40 since she only paid 40 last time. I explained yes you paid 40 for 30 pills. You have 4 times as much this time and you also have a deductible on your insurance it seems. I kid you not she looks me dead in the eyes and asks why would that make a difference? My head exploded. Why would buying more cost more? Cause there is more. Why would a deductible cost more? Because it's a deductible. Even after I explain all this she then somehow thinks she can trick me into giving it to her for 40 or something and tells me that it should only be 40. I reprocess the amount for the 30 pills and tell her even if you get the same amount you still have to pay more. Your insurance is saying 30 pills is 72. No matter what it will not get down to 40 without calling them or paying your deductible. She could not fathom this and instead turns to the pharmacist to see if she could help. The pharmacist just says no he's doing everything right. And walks away. The patient finally gives in and tells us to make it for the 30 pills and she'll be back in 10 minutes. She never came back. I don't understand why deductibles and stuff like that is not explained by insurances but this was more than just not having it explained to them. This was a certain kind of willful ignorance. Early 2000s I worked for a big consulting company. One fine day they give me a new client in Los Angeles. Fortune 500, with a business class hotel literally right next door. I could walk to work every day and laugh at LA traffic. I ended up there 4 nights a week for 6 months. First week, before checking in Sunday night I hit a small local fast food chain famous for their chili cheeseburgers, and grab it to go. When I'm checking in the desk clerk remarks that place is so good. I asked if he was the regular in that Sunday night shift. He was. So the next week I pick up 2 of those artery-clogging bombs of deliciousness, one for me and one for him. He's ecstatic, gets me a fruit basket and thanks, which was awesome. Fresh fruit is always the perfect gift. Week 3 he tells me he shared the previous week's burger with the night auditor, which I gather is a woman he's really enjoys working with. So week 4 of course I get 3 burgers, and hand him 2. He says some very complimentary things, and then says I'm getting a room upgrade to the biggest suite available. For the next 6 months it's always the same routine. I shows up with dinner for the 2 hotel employees and find out which suite I'm getting. I think my favorite was the presidential 3 bedrooms off a living room with an all-marble interior and a spectacular view. Stocked with a fruit basket, sometimes a bottle of wine. Certainly impressed a woman I talked into leaving a bar we'd met in to check out my hotel one week. Word got around to the staff I guess, so room service guys would make remarks like you're the chili cheeseburger guy. Everyone thinks you're so nice. Tipping appropriately maybe helped. Treat people with respect and kindness, especially in the hospitality sector where so many customers are stressed out and rude. I lived like a billionaire for 6 months, but really I'd have been perfectly happy if the clerk did nothing. It just felt good to spread a little happiness. And chili. DL, doctor, fat guy does fat guy thing, it works out well. So my boyfriend and I went to the self-scan register, scanned all the products, or so we thought, and paid. Immediately after we paid, this security guy comes over and tells us he is going to check all the groceries on the receipt, and finds out the radishes 0.60 weren't on the receipt. We explained we thought the machine did scan it, apologized, and said we would still pay for them, but the security guy says it's too late, and have to follow him to his little office where he calls the police. After about an hour of waiting in his office the police showed up. We explained ourselves again, but the security guy convinced the police officer that it was our intent to steal it. So we get a €181 fine, are banned from the store, and didn't get the chance to still pay for the radishes. BTW in total we paid €36 for all the groceries, and if we wanted to steal something we would have gone for the wine, salmon, or something else with a higher value than 0.60 cents radishes. DL, doctor forgot to scan radishes at a self-scan register, ended up getting a €181 fine, and no radishes. I'm a person that's always in a rush. I like to wake up and get out early because there's less people, simple as that. So, I woke up significantly later than I would have wanted to today, about noon or so. Now, this wouldn't have been an issue if I hadn't put off a grocery shopping to the last possible minute, but I'm a major procrastinator. So, I'm looking for the best ways to make up time so I can go, get stuff, and come back home before too many people are out. I did all the tricks in the book, wore the same clothing that I slept in, put on slippers instead of shoes, put on a hat instead of messing with my hair, etc. All that was left to do was to slam a coffee and eat breakfast. So I decided why not combine the two? Big mistake. I used black coffee instead of boiled milk/water in my morning oatmeal. It had the flavor of dirt, the texture of grit, and the look of vomit. I was still prepping to leave, trying to choke down this awful conglomeration that should have never existed. At the halfway mark, I genuinely wanted to cry. But I pushed forward. I wouldn't let the monster win. I made it to 60%, then 70%, and even 80% of the way through this mug of oatmeal. As I was taking some of the final bites, however, something hit my stomach like a bulldozer. It felt as though my esophagus had been lassoed and my gut was a nuclear testing facility. I placed down my mug on the nearest table, knowing that it had won. I sat down on my floor, gently rocking myself, as though I was consoling a small child. The pain was short-lived, but the nausea lasted for a fair bit. The monster is still on my counter, several hours later. I don't have the willpower to clean it out. I know it won. It is the rightful owner of me. It could throw me out before I throw it out. I want so desperately to continue eating it for honor's sake, but I probably, hopefully, won't. Needless to say, groceries will wait. I hope to the gods that I never wake up late again, and that I never conjure up another idea as long as I live. DL, doctor, coffee and oatmeal are good separate and as a meal, but should never mate. Bartender at a local pizza joint. My buddy came in after a long day dealing with his 2 sick little girls. He tells me a story from today about the littlest. She's screaming for him from the bathroom. She states she's been waiting for 60 years for him. All she wanted was a cheese pizza from our place. Since they were sick he went with something more appropriate for upset stomachs. But you can guarantee I got him a gift certificate for a cheese pizza for her when she's better. Nice to have good customers to even out the bad ones lol. I worked in housekeeping in a hotel for months up until this past week. I'm now 35 weeks pregnant. I was scheduled to work 5+ days a week, with 20+ rooms to myself. I came into work recently, because I was on the schedule, and I could barely walk. I couldn't bend my back and my ankles were hugely swollen. I had been in L&D the night before to stop contractions. We didn't have many rooms, but 5 housekeepers in-house. Everyone was almost begging my manager to send me home, as we had too many housekeepers for the amount of rooms. Now, I'm huge at this point in pregnancy. I can't bend too far forward in general. My manager and I, discussed a couple weeks ago that she didn't want me cleaning bathtubs, so I was to have another housekeeper come clean my bathtubs. No biggie, I was fine with that. Well, the day before I quit I had went to find another HK to help with a bathtub. Said manager stopped us in the hall and asked what we were doing socializing on the clock. We explained that she was going to clean a bathtub for me and would go right back to her rooms. She yelled at me and said that if I can't do my job, I need to quit so that she can hire someone who's willing to work. I explained that it wasn't that I wasn't willing to work, rather that's one small task that I myself struggle with accomplishing. She didn't care. She continued yelling at me. Now, I've always hated being yelled at, so I spent the rest of my shift crying while cleaning my rooms. I got home from work, still crying. My boyfriend became extremely upset as I told him what had happened. We decided that it's in the best interest of our child that I just be done, as it's a lot of emotional trouble as well as physical. So I gave my manager her wish, and I went in and handed in my scrubs and quit. She seemed sympathetic, said she understood, was sad to see me go, and for me to come talk to her after I was released from maternity leave. Fast forward to today, another HK at said hotel was talking to this manager, while recording the conversation to send to me. She asked if I would be back after baby. The manager told her that I was lazy and a crybaby so she would never consider hiring me back. I'm glad I quit. I feel like I dodged a bullet. I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to convince myself to work in housekeeping again. At my last job, and now in my current job, I would have these mandatory performance reviews that include my performance goals for the upcoming year. When I sign up for these, it's with the express purpose of preparing for a merit increase at the end of the period. This never happened in my last job because they were always making bad decisions that left them scrambling to make ends meet, much less try to give people pay raises. In my new job, of course, there's been an impact from COVID, so I was told there would be no merit increases this year because there's no money available. Okay, I get it, and it's fine because I wasn't eligible this time around anyway, but for next year, they're already saying no raises at the end of this year, but they still want us to do the performance reviews and goal setting. Of course you want your workforce to continue to improve and to meet the demands of the job, but I'm doing that. I just get a kind of minor issue with putting in the effort to do the performance review, but with no payoff from me in it. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who feels this way. In my last job, it was completely pointless because no one even cared, not the employees, the bosses, or the managers. It was just a box you had to check, but here, it's like you're supposed to be all chipper about it like it's going to mean something. I am 14. I am a certified referee in my state. I know the rules as I've played by them my whole life along with taking the officiating classes. At our park district, no headers for ages below 11. But in U12, it is up to the referee's discretion. So if it's a small tap it's okay. That is exactly what happens. So the coach behind me screams at the top of his lungs there are no headers in U12 5 to 16 times. I ignore him. Though I could eject him. It was last game of the season and I didn't care. After a bit of yelling, he says fine, go duck yourself then, which I turn and tell at him for saying in front of U11 kids. I wish I sent him away or ended the match. Sadly I didn't do much and my partner is a longtime referee, officiated my matches as I grew up, and he is deaf. So he has no idea what happened. The person who runs Park District in my area has been informed and is taking action. It's an old story but still it was an effed up one. Everything was going usual but then one of my friend decided to give me a dare. He told me to give this girl a flower and tell her that will you be my friend. It was easy for me because she was sweet and never showed any type of vanity. I went and gave her the flower and told her to be my friend. Didn't know how it got too much awkward. She replied I'm already your friend. I said okay / that's good, something like that. The real show started the next day. When one of my friends started teasing me by her name and I realized that everyone saw me giving her the flower. Man face palming. However, I saw her in the hallway and explained to her that it was a dare. She said I know but I didn't know how to react. Awkward. From that day she started ignoring me and distancing herself from me. Felt like an idiot and didn't even know how to apologize. The year ended and she shifted to other city, which was already pre-planned. I feel sad that I lost a good friend due to misunderstanding and a stupid game. Also want to inform you guys that she was literally my friend. I never thought of getting into a relationship with her. DL, Doctor, lost a good friend because of my stupid act frown. Hi. On August 1st I'm moving back to my home state after being in another state since April 2019. Since moving here my Walmart pharmacy, the entire team, has been awesome to me. I'm on 4 controls plus 2 more and for a while was having to go to the pharmacy every 7 days to get my meds. Every time they worked as hard and fast as possible to get my meds ready and dealt with insurance issues. I'm on Medicaid and parents' insurance, out-of-state control meds for a while, PAs they couldn't get from my slow-ass doctor's office so I just pay cash, etc. Whenever for whatever reason my scripts were coming up as more than usual, they did what they could to reduce them as much as possible. They all know me and address me by name. I'm on Suboxone and when I got my wisdom teeth out I had to get a script of 27.5 mg hydros, and even though I didn't really even plan on using them, one of the 2 pharmacists that works there made sure it was okay with my subdoc and also encouraged me to take a box of 2 Narcan dispensers as it's free with my Medicaid. I just really appreciate the care they've given me and a couple weeks ago I got the name of every person who worked in the pharmacy. There were a couple I didn't know, and she, the second main pharmacist, said the best gift I could give. I told her I wanted to somehow see if there was anything I could do to show my appreciation, was to fill out the feedback survey from the link on the receipt. So, what should I say that could maybe get their boss to give them at the very least kudos on a job well done?